Hey guys, what is up? It's Nix here for another video, and in today's video, we're going to be going over how to get every single in Training 2, and Rookie evolution in Digimon Story Time Stranger. Now, this is going to be for the demo, and then also just so you're prepared for the official release when it does come. Because with this, you'll have literally every evolution, aside from one evolution that we can't get at this time. Before we get into today's video, I want to say make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Anyways, let's get started. So we're going to go one by one here, explaining each one. Now, there is 7 in trainings. There's 13 in training 2s, and then there is 60 rookies that are in the game, and only 59 out of the 60 are obtainable currently. Just because Lucemon requires a higher like agent level, and for that reason we're kind of locked out. It's not even stat-wise, because for the stats we would have been able to farm it, but it's just the agent level which is restricting us. Same reason why we can't go into champion in the beginning of the game, just because it's locked out right now, because it's restricted through agent level. For champions, you have to be like agent level 3, and I think his had some higher requirement than even that. But anyways, for the in-trainings, we're going to start with Kuramon. So Kuramon you're able to encounter in the wild. You could just, walk around and you'll eventually come across a Kuramon. Usually it's partnered with Choromon. So that's where you'll find this one. This one, Choromon, is actually harder to get. So the way to get Choromon is from Toy Agumon. You de-evolutionize him, and I'll show you guys his path real quick. So if you look here, it comes from Kapurimon, and if we click on Kapurimon comes from Toy Agumon. So this is the way that you'll actually get it, is through de-evolutionizing, which is why you need to make sure that you have a Toy Agumon that is friendly. Yep. So you have to have a Toy Agumon that is friendly in order to de-evolutionize into Kapurimon. And then once you de-evolutionize from Kapurimon, you'll get Choromon. There's Dodomon, which this one actually comes from Wanyamon. So you'll need a Reckless Nature Wanyamon in order to de-evolutionize into Dodomon. Pabumon, the only way to get this one right now is from Motimon or Tentomon. You're able to de-evolutionize them. You need a Motimon that has the nature of Tolerant. Must be a Tolerant Motimon in order to de-evolutionize into Pabumon. And Punimon you actually see in the wild. It's one of those that you'll encounter a lot of. Make sure to stock up on them because you'll need a lot of them to be able to evolve into the other forms. We'll be going over, though, like the number of evolutions and stuff like that as well. So you know how many of these you'll need each to have the correct amount of Digimon total. To be able to have the full squad. Now there's also Botamon. The Botamon's another one that you're able to just scan. This one becomes Koromon. That one's just, you find it in the wild though. So Poyomon is only obtainable if you went with Gomamon or Patamon, and you need these. You have to go with those 2 starters in order to complete the decks in the beginning. Now this is the one Digimon that we cannot get yet for Rookie, and it's because he requires agent rank 5 or higher. It's the only one that we're locked out of. Every other evolution we're able to get. But yes, so to get Poyomon, you must have chosen either Patamon or Gomamon as a starter to be able to clear the full decks, so you can have the full field guide. And I would recommend personally Patamon, just because Patamon already has the Enlightened nature, which is the one that you actually need to be able to de-evolutionize into both Tokomon and into Poyomon. So just my advice, go with Patamon. I don't think there's a point in going Gomamon, because if you really wanted Gomamon anyways, you could de-evolutionize him back and get Gomamon. So it's not really a big deal. That's just my opinion. Why make it harder, right? So then we have Kapurimon, which, like I explained, Kapurimon comes from Toy Agumon. It's how you actually get to Choromon. But Choromon's only evolution is Kapurimon, so you basically just de-evolutionize him once, and then after that you're good, just so you have it in your record. But yeah, you just need to make sure you have a friendly Toy Agumon to be able to de-evolutionize into Kapurimon. For Koromon, you just evolve Botamon. I mean, you'll find Botamons in the wild with scans. It only requires 2 encounters. You get 1. As you can see, Koromon does have a lot of evolutions though, so make sure to stock up on him. You'll need at least 5 Botamons just to be able to get 5 Koromon. Moving on, we have Tanemon, and Tanemon comes from Pabumon, which again, remember, is Motimon that you de-evolutionize. So you're going to want to stock up on a bunch of Motimon, because Motimon becomes Tanemon, and it also becomes Yokomon, because you'll de-evolutionize them back into Pabumon and then evolve Pabumon into each of these. Now you could also de-evolutionize Tentomon into Motimon into Pabumon, and at the end of the map before you end the game, you're able to farm a bunch of Tentomon. So once you already have Motimon Tolerant nature and you de-evolutionize him to Pabumon, you're good, because even if you need more in the future, you could just use the Tentomon that are at the end of the game to de-evolutionize back and be able to get more. So you don't really have to stock up on these in the beginning. Like the Motimons on the second map, you don't have to worry about it. You can. Or on the first map, you don't have to get like a bunch of Tentomon because he is still available at the end of the game. The only ones that really aren't is like Punimon, you got to stock up on. Wanyamon, you got to stock up on. And Wanyamon will be going over in a second of why you got to stock up on these. But, all right, moving on. Tsunomon. Tsunomon comes from Punimon. So if we look here, Punimon, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 evolutions. So for this one, you need to have 6 Punimon for Tsunomon. And then if you go back here and you look at Nyaromon, Nyaromon has 4 evolutions. So 6 plus 4, you need 10 Punimon. Thankfully, they give you a lot, though. They give you, like, you can essentially get 2 per run at 200%. So just make sure to stock up on 10 of them. You'll need 10 Punimon. Tsumemon. Tsumemon comes from Kunemon. Or Kuramon, I mean. Tsumemon does come from Choromon as well. You could de-evolutionize Choromon into Tsumemon, but you'll have a bunch of Koromon, so you might as well just evolve them. And then it can evolve into 3 forms. Tokomon, like I said, it only comes from Pabumon or Gomamon. You'll only have one, so what you'll have to do is de-evolutionize and then re-evolutionize it, de-evolutionize, re-evolutionize it to get each form. Because you only have one to play with right now. In the future, we'll have more. Obviously, there will be a place to farm it, but just right now, there's only one that we get. So you will not, for any of these Evos, be able to keep any of the Digimon except for one of them. You get to choose like who you want to go with, and that's it. You'll stick to it. It's the same thing with Gomamon's line. As you can see, he has a bunch of different forms, but we won't be able to keep any of them. I would say that probably Tokomon's line is better just for the evolutions, right? Because Choromon, Terriermon, Armadillomon, Patamon, all of these are useful. I'd say probably Choromon is the most useful in my opinion. But yeah, it just depends. Depends what you're looking for. I mean, Patamon could be really good too because, you know, Angemon's really strong. Also, it's a wind type, so you can use wind skills with it. Moving on, there's Dorimon. Dorimon comes from Dodomon. So this is why you need a bunch of Wanyamon, because Wanyamon will become Dodomon, which can then evolve into Dorimon. And you'll need to have at least 4 extra Wanyamon to become Dodomon. Now keep in mind, once you unlock Dodomon, you do not need to have the nature, like the personality type that requires for the evolutions. It's just a one-time thing to unlock the evolution. And once you have it unlocked, then you can evolve them at any time. Doesn't matter the personality. For Nyaromon, it's the same thing. You take Punimon, evolve it into Nyaromon, it has 4 evolutions. Pagumon comes from either Kuramon, you can evolve into Pagumon, which then evolves into Impmon, Devimon, Gazimon, or Otamamon. Now, also with Pagumon, you can get it from Gazimon. So if you were to de-evolutionize Gazimon, you'll get Pagumon. I'd say the easier way is definitely the Choromon though, because they're so easy to farm. There's just so many of them on the maps. Even at the end of the game, they still give you him, so it's a quick one to farm. Yokomon is harder because it comes from Pabumon, so it's Motimon's evolution. You de-evolutionize Motimon, get him to Pabumon, and then you can get him into Yokomon. That is how you get Yokomon. Bukamon is, again, we only get one. You de-evolutionize the Patamon into Poyomon, and then you can go into the Gomamon side, then you evolve them one by one, de-evolutionize them, just to fill out the decks if you want to. If you don't care, then you don't have to. Motimon. Motimon gets de-evolutionized for Pabumon, and it also has 4 evolutions of its own, which would be Tsumemon, Tentomon, Wormmon, and Gatsumon. Wanyamon. Wanyamon is the one that we just scan. Naturally in the map, it's out there. There's you could get 2 of them per run. Well, 1 of them per run at 200% because it's out in the wild. And you'll need a bunch of these just because you have 4 evolutions here, and then not to mention you have the Dorimon lines, which I think is also 4. So that's why you need to stock up on a bunch of Wanyamon. We'll go over the exact numbers at the end of how many of each Digimon you would need to essentially have every evolution. Anyways, then you have Agumon, which evolves from Koromon. Same with Kudamon. I think it's pretty self-explanatory from here. Kudamon evolves from Nyaromon. Gomamon, like I said, we can only get 1 because of the situation right now with the evolution. Same with Choromon. Zubamon comes from Tsunemon. Solarmon comes from Kapurimon. Tokomon to Terriermon, so you can only get 1, and you'll probably have to de-evolutionize it. Tentomon comes from Motimon. Agumon comes from Kapurimon, but you actually find Agumon, so you have to work backwards to get Kapurimon. Yokomon comes from Yokomon. Biyomon comes from Yokomon. Falcomon comes from Yokomon. Salamon comes from Nyaromon. Bearmon comes from Wanyamon. Penmon comes from Yokomon. Monodramon comes from Dorimon. You could also de-evolutionize Monodramon back to Dorimon if you need extras as well. So you do get a lot of Monodramon from the previous maps. Ryudomon comes from Tsunomon. Again, Lucemon we can't get. This would be from Tokomon though. Hyokomon comes from Tsunomon. Gomamon comes from Wanyamon. Crabmon comes from Bukamon, which again we can only get one of. Gabumon comes from Tsunomon. Tanemon comes from Bukamon. Kokuamon comes from Kapurimon. Gatsumon comes from Motimon. Kodomon you actually find on the map, but he would come from Koromon. But again, you'll find this one on the map, so you'll have plenty of him. Shoutmon comes from Koromon, no surprise there. Drakomon comes from Koromon. Orumon comes from Dorimon, which that's to kind of be expected. Patamon, again, is from Tokomon. Pukamon comes from Nyaromon. This one's a very good one. Palmon comes from Tanemon. Loromon comes from Tanemon. Muchomon comes from Yokomon. Lalamon comes from Tanemon. Lunamon comes from Nyaromon. Renamon comes from Wanyamon. Atmon comes from Dorimon. Imon comes from Pagumon, to be expected. Tsumemon comes from Pagumon. Gazimon comes from Pagumon. Izumon comes from Bukamon. Wilmon comes from Koromon. Goblamon comes from Tsunomon. Shamamon comes from Tsumemon. Hyokomon comes from Bukamon. Snowgoblamon comes from Dorimon. Chumon comes from Motimon. Drakmon comes from Tsumemon. Agumon comes from Kapurimon. Devimon comes from Pagumon. Funbimon comes from Tanemon. Tanemon comes from Koromon. Mushroomon comes from Tanemon. Armadillomon comes from Tokomon. Vmon comes from Tsunomon. Bukamon comes from Yokomon. Choromon comes from Motimon. And lastly, Karamon, which comes from Tsumemon. So that's the full rookie evolution lines, as well as the in-training 2s and the in-trainings. Let me go over how many of each you would need to have in order to make each evolution. Okay, so we're going to go over the main Digimon that you'll need now to be able to complete the whole entire catalog, and how many of each you'll need. So this is not going to be including the overworld, rookies that you'll be able to scan on the map. I'm going to mention them though as to like each evolution so you guys know. But here it is. So Kuramon, you'll need 4. 4 evolutions because we're excluding Choromon, Gazimon, and Imon since you can farm those in the overworld. So you only need 4 Kuramon. You'll need 7 Wanyamon to get Evos, excluding Monodramon. And one of them must be Reckless in order for you to proceed from that area, because you need a Reckless type to be able to de-evolutionize him so you could get the other evolution paths. You'll need 10 Punimon to get all evolutions from, because none of them we have in the overworld. So that one's like an exclusive evolution from Punimon, so get 10 of them at least, 200%. Botamon, you'll need 4, technically 3 if you count the 1 Choromon they give for free. You'll only need 3 other Botamon, but I'll just say 4 just for, just in case. And then the one you'll need the most of is going to be Motimon, and Motimon needs to be a tolerant personality. You need to have at least one of them tolerant so you could de-evolutionize them into Pabumon, but you'll need 13 of them because we're excluding Tentomon and Mushroomon since those are farmable. If you want to count Tentomon and Mushroomon, then you would need 15 total. And last but not least, Toy Agumon. So Toy Agumon, you'll need at least 4 total. 1 to have actual Toy Agumon in the decks, and then 3 others to devolve into Kapurimon. And also you could go back into its previous evolution as well. From here, I'll show you guys. So Kapurimon into Choromon, but it doesn't have another path, so that's why it's just Kapurimon right now. So you'll just need 3 for the other evolutions. And that is pretty much it, guys. That's it for like the exclusives to be able to unlock all evolution paths. The biggest one being Motimon again, because Motimon has, from Pabumon, 3 different in-training evolutions, which each has like 4 or 5 rookies. So that's why you need so many. 13 Motimon. Anyways, guys, that is pretty much it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. And thank you again so much for the support. You guys have been awesome. And welcome to all of you new subscribers to the Hula Gang. I appreciate you guys. We have a Discord server as well. If you do want to join it, the link is in the description below. There's a lot of people on there. I even opened a new chat now for Digimon Story Time Stranger so we could talk about it in there if you ever have any questions or anything. So yeah, see you guys next time.